What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and today we're playing Iden Red against Luke Green, and this is a tournament game or a league game rather in the Take the Initiative Online League Season 0.6. We're going to mulligan that initial hand because it has no starting play, and we mulligan into a hand where the only starting play is Forced Choke. Not really what we want to see. We do have some nice options though. If Paul has like a dispatcher start, we could force a choke, or even go for that power of the dark side start of the next turn. Doesn't look like that's what we're gonna see. Battlefield Marine, I think we do go for the immediate force choke, just get it off the board. Don't like to give him a card, but I don't have another play this turn otherwise, and I don't want my opponent to get too far ahead. Okay, so I think we resource this choke. We'll see if that's wrong. We have a Death Trooper if there's a 2-cost unit. We have a Power of the Dark Side as a general answer. Um, is it worth deploying this Trooper? No, I think we want to keep the board small. Power of the Dark Side, get rid of that. Luke is kind of mid-range. I am not mid-range. I am control. Ooh, and there's the Imperial Interceptor. That's something I like to see. We'll resource the Viper Probe because if we go for the Death Star Stormtrooper, we can still play Death Trooper or Power of the Dark Side. Imperial Interceptor now they're ready and waiting for Paul to play any more space units. Not what he goes for. Ends up being Kanan Jarrus. So that's going to be pretty straightforwardly countered. So Death Trooper, 2 damage to me, 2 damage to Kanan. He takes initiative. We're going to Tarkin Town to get Kanan off the board, and then play a Death Star Stormtrooper of our own, and then draw up. Probably resource an Interceptor here because a little bit redundant. Our ground force is now looking strong. Can potentially do 6 damage to base this turn. Still have Power of the Dark Side, still have an Interceptor, and Count Dooku will be showing up once we get later in the game. Thus far, this is going pretty much as I would like. I haven't taken very much damage early on, which is a good sign for this type of build. I generally, not always, but generally have a stronger late game than opponents. And so that's kind of what we're going for here. We're trying to just get into that position where that strong late game can take control of the scenario. Paul paying 5 resources for something. Ooh, a Traitor's. Okay, so this is a really not awesome play for him. I have disabling Fang Fighters in main deck. What we're going to do is just swing for base. If he wants to use the capture Death Star Trooper to trade with my DT, I consider that basically okay. If he goes for my base, that kind of plays into my potential Fang Fighter countermeasures. Interesting, fun little fact. I looked at my sideboard and I was like, "Oh no, I forgot to put Fang Fighter in. I'm gonna get destroyed by Luke." And then I remembered it isn't in my sideboard. Or I didn't remember. I saw that it isn't in my sideboard because it is in my main deck. Um, okay, so the question now is: do we take initiative or do we play? I think I actually just take initiative here. So there's an argument for playing this Interceptor, but what I want to do here is just nice, nice, nice. What I want to do here is get Iden on the field fast. She might, of course, just get killed by takedown, which would be really sad. That's absolutely a thing that can happen when you're playing Iden against a blue deck. But then again, if my opponent does that, then Luke probably just gets killed by Power of the Dark Side. So, if that happens, well, probably that might overstate it. He might not do it. But we both have the opportunity to kind of just blow up our opponent's leader immediately in this matchup, which is kind of funny. Ideally, I would have Regional Governor to blank out that possibility, but it's not really something that's going to be immediately available. Iden, a 4/4 shielded, does offer some degree of threat just in fighting normal units. The fact that she's shielded means that most things that someone could plausibly have are not going to be able to defeat her in one shot. There is the risk of like energy conversion lab ambush with I don't know, like Rogue Operative or like Cassian Andor when he deploys has 4 strength and Saboteur, so can defeat her through her shield. But it's just not really very common. It looks like I'm seeing him go over to Luke, which is really something that I love to see because we're gonna just power of the dark side and kill Luke immediately. So an opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat that unit. So getting Luke off the field for 3 resources is, in my book, a major win. Um, we've really kept the damage to our base very low. In fact, we've kept it at 0, and now Iden is in position to potentially make some attacks, and we'll see how things go from here. Now, one little note that I think is interesting is that the one problem I think with this deck is that it's sometimes not the most proactive. So, for instance, on that previous turn, we saw me not really able to do that much. Okay, so he plays Kanan. So what we're going to do is, do we just, yeah, we're gonna hit Kanan with Iden. That's 4 damage to Kanan. He can't shield with Luke because Luke is defeated. If he takes the initiative, I'm going to open fire Kanan. He does take the initiative, so here comes the open fire. If he had instead um, done something else, I would have taken the initiative and tried to kill Kanan with Count Dooku. Ah, nice. Del Miko. This is one of my few actually proactive cards, and we do have another Power of the Dark Side as well, which will be a great counter if my opponent has like Jedi Luke, something like that. We're going to resource the Interceptor here. Interceptor is a good card, but Blue-Green Luke is not likely to have that many ships that are that relevant. My opponent does have a major card advantage at this point. Um, and we need to see what we can do, try to play things efficiently. Good chance of a takedown or something to kill Iden. Nope, opponent doesn't have it. It's going to be Yoda on the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue. Count Dooku can kill a unit with 4 or less remaining HP. So we could just have Count Dooku kill Yoda immediately. um my opponent has not used the energy conversion lab yet. I think what we're going to do is have Iden hit the base for 4. So the reason that I'm doing this instead of attacking Yoda is I'm hoping that my opponent is going to use Luke's ability to shield Yoda, at which point I can use Count Dooku to kill him. We actually see a forced throw. Out of aspect forced throw, bit of a surprise play. Not in my view a very strong one necessarily. So what we'll do is we'll remove Del, and Iden takes 3 damage. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. So now with my opponent's 1 resource, he'll probably shield Yoda. So what we're going to do is just kill Yoda with Count Dooku. There's not really any reason to draw that out. He does get a card draw. Um, he does get a card draw. So I'm just pointing that out. It is a league game, but I still like to be friendly. Okay, so he's still going to take initiative. Okay, so then we're just going to pass, draw up. Nice. So we have a handful of removal. We're not going to do anything. There's not right now. I don't really see a reason to spend these resources, or to resource any of these cards rather. All of them are potentially kills on potentially important stuff. Paul does have the initiative this turn. So what I'm looking to do here is probably attack with Iden quickly if possible. That out of aspect force throw is an interesting call. You know, it for only 3, it can be pretty good. It's making them discard a card and then doing damage. In that situation, though, the costs just didn't really line up with what I think my opponent would have most liked to see. So we see Obi-Wan showing up and ambushing Iden. Okay. He gets Iden off the field this way. The problem is it isn't going to be difficult for me to deal with his Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is a Sentinel, so I think what we do is I think we just have Count Dooku kill Obi-Wan. All that does is lose his shield. And since my opponent is playing a blue deck, he probably has a lot of attachment-based or a lot of removal that doesn't care about shields. So because of that, I think it's likely that my opponent can losing the shield isn't that important, especially with ECL down. Now, I had full resources, but I didn't have anything to play because I had a handful of removal, and that is one of the downsides of this style of deck. Yeah, so my opponent has the takedown for Count Dooku here, and this is why it was good that I used that shield instead of playing Make an Opening. I'm going to go ahead and play Del Miko, so this will impair. Del is a 3-cost 3/3 with Restore 1. Each event an opponent plays costs 1 more. So potentially impairing other moves. If my opponent has another takedown, can't actually play it here. And then we're going to get Inferno 4 out and start filtering for more expensive stuff. Okay, so we see Echo Base Defender hitting the field, 4-cost 3/3. Um, is it worth it? I think we do want Inferno 4 for the filter, so we're going to go there. My opponent's going to shield. Okay, so these are not really cards that we want here. We're really looking for some of the bigger endgame cards, so we're going to send both of these to the bottom of the deck. We're trying to draw into bigger stuff. My opponent is probably going to use Luke to shield his Echo Base Defender. I am going to take the initiative, and then we're going to be using Takedown to clear out that Echo Base Defender. I was thinking Takedown, but now I'm thinking Count Dooku. Once again, I see not a huge reason to resource at this time. My opponent is going big on resources, though. It does make me wonder whether or not we're going to see the Redemption Medical Frigate. So I am not going to do that. I'm just going to have Count Dooku show up and kill the Echo Base Defender. Count Dooku gets a shield. Nice efficient. Remove somebody and then have a powerful unit on the board. A lot of those 7 costs are like that. Unfortunately, my opponent has access to Jedi Luke, who is sort of the same thing except better. So now we're seeing Bright Hope on the field. This is a 2/6. And doesn't have that, but it is a Sentinel, so Inferno 4 won't be hitting the base. We will have Del hit the base, though, so that's going to be 3 damage to my opponent. Shields there. Oh, I should have actually hit that first. That was silly of me. So I should have actually hit it with Inferno 4, because that way it would be vulnerable to this takedown. I think I have Inferno 4 attack in anyway. The reason that I'm doing this is that when Inferno 4 is defeated, I get to filter again, so I'm actually kind of fine with that. And so my opponent attempts to play a takedown on Count Dooku, but it's not legal because Del means it costs 1 more. So I point that out. Ooh, and we see a wing leader buffing the Bright Hope. That's annoying. Okay, so I'm gonna take initiative. So I have a feeling that I have just a strange feeling that my Count Dooku is not going to be long for the world. So I'm going to have him swing into the base for 5 before my opponent gets that takedown off on him. So, benefiting a little from the information that I received from my opponent misplaying there. Now we see the takedown on Del this time. Okay, so Del removed by the takedown. Interesting. Let's see here. So I have Power of the Dark Side. I have Inferno 4. Hmm. I think we have Inferno 4 swing into Bright Hope here. So Inferno 4 is defeated. When defeated, I get to look at the top 2 cards in my deck, put any number of them on the bottom and any number and the rest on top in any order. Emperor Palpatine and Count Dooku. Congratulations, guys. You get to stay on top of the deck because you are exactly the types of cards that I want in this situation. Oh, and then the third takedown for Count Dooku as well. That's a little stylish for my opponent. So what we are going to do here is, um, yeah, I think I want that stuff off the field. So we'll do make an opening, kill the wing leader, and then we'll follow that up with this Power of the Dark Side to kill the Bright Hope. Opponent takes the initiative, and I'm gonna pass. Oh, hey, it's my friends here, Emperor Palpatine and Count Dooku. Yoda shows up. Yoda's a pretty decent card. We're gonna once again have Count Dooku take out Yoda. Count Dooku gets shield. One of the draw there. He's gonna just take initiative. Ooh, an Alliance Dispatcher. That's a cool card. So I'm going to now I take the initiative. Oh, I could have actually used Iden's ability here. So I could have used Iden's ability to gain one life, but I think I'd rather take the initiative. We can use make an opening or well, we'll see. He might shield it. A Jedi lightsaber, okay. And Luke's lightsaber. What the heck? No wonder he wasn't playing cards. He must have had just bunches of attachments in hand. So with the this extremely buffed dispatcher is actually 8 defense. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so we're going to draw up. Believe it or not, that dispatcher would survive Emperor Palpatine. Um, okay, so what are we gonna do here? So I think what we do is we lead off um 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I should actually resource at this point. I think what we're gonna do is lead off with having Count Dooku hit the dispatch. Or no, wait, no, that's silly. Count Dooku doesn't need to hit the dispatcher because Count Dooku is going to hit the enemy base. Enemy base now at 5 life. I was expecting just a shield on that dispatcher, not 2 lightsabers. We'll have to see how this goes. A good hit for 7. That's a lot of damage, but I am mostly undamaged here, so I'm not incredibly concerned with that. If my opponent doesn't have some way to get Count Dooku's shield down, I just win the game. Because Count Dooku can attack into the enemy base and just deal 5 damage and win. If my opponent attacks Count Dooku with the Dispatcher, I have some options available. Wow, okay. So we're seeing the forces with me. So 6, 7, 8, 9. The Super Dispatcher. Um, what could my opponent have that matters here? The big one would be if my opponent had a Vanquish. Okay, so what we're gonna do is deploy our Death Star Trooper. If the opponent plays anything, okay, so it doesn't have a Sentinel or a means of killing Count Dooku. So then we are going to play Emperor Palpatine and deal 6 damage there. And then that doesn't actually kill him because he has so many upgrades, but it's going to reduce his stats a bunch. And then I'm pretty sure. Okay, so he types GG. Yep, he doesn't have a way to kill both Dooku and Palpatine. I don't think he even had a way to kill Dooku. All right, so a bit of a long match for that first one, but we did get the win. And now we're going to be thinking about sideboard. I don't think my opponent has seen my Fang Fighters this game, because I think I either didn't draw them or resource them. I definitely didn't have them when my opponent had Traitors. This opponent is also playing lightsabers, so the Fang Fighters are going to be great, I think. The question is, do I want to bring in... So there's an argument that I should bring in Vanquish and or... So we're going to put in this other regional governor. And so that's like just a very basic addition that often comes in. So this regional governor is going to replace, I think, probably one of these Death Star troopers. We don't really need them, and they don't work great against Luke's shields. So then the question is, are we going to bring in the super heavy hitters of Avenger or the hard removal of Vanquish? I think we do want Vanquish. I don't know about. I think we do want Vanquish, and I don't know about those copies of Avenger. I'm leaning no. Well, there isn't a ton that I guess we'll get rid of Cell Block Guard. I don't really like Cell Block Guard, and this isn't an aggro deck that I'm facing. So that'll give me some. The Vanquishes will basically just beef up my later game against some of the big units he might have. You know, if he plays Obi-Wan, if he plays Obi-Wan, Jedi Luke, stuff like that. I have some ammo. Okay, so this time, so we have a regional governor start, which is pretty good. We can resource this Count Dooku because we have two in hand. Resource a Count Dooku, probably resource a Vanquish. So we have the regional governor. We can potentially play Power of the Dark Side, and we have a interceptor, which will be good if my opponent leads off with a space unit. Okay, so my opponent leads off with a restored arc. What we're going to do here is regional governor, and we'll say wing leader. Um, and wing leader starts are one of the more aggro things he can do. So we're just going to close off that potential. Probably what I want to do this turn. Well, we'll see what he does. I could plausibly Power of the Dark Side, but I want to clear that restored arc first. So I think what I'm going to do over there is probably bring in the interceptor next turn. I take 2 damage. I'm going to just play Dell. Dell also counters if my opponent has a resupply. That resupply is now blank if that's what my opponent's going for this turn. Well, either it wasn't or this was another option here. So Echo Base Defender, I'm just going to take the initiative. Opponent there. Nice, nice, nice. Good old Disabling Fang Fighter. It's a good card to have in this matchup. So what we're going to do this turn is we're going to intercept that arc. But first, we're going to have Dell trade with the Echo Base Defender, healing our base for 1. We can then use Sabine's ability, or I said Sabine. We can then use Iden's ability to heal the base later. So Restored Arc kills there, Imperial Interceptor kills the arc, and we've cleared the opponent's board, though there's likely going to be another unit hitting the field this turn. If we see, let's see what happens here. Kanan. Okay, so the question is it worth it to... So one thing that I could do here is I can just take initiative and then use, I could just take initiative and then use Power of the Dark Side to kill Kanan at the start of the next turn. I think I don't want to do that, though. We're going to do Regional Governor into the base. There's a good chance I'll get to do that anyway. Um, and this way I get to do 1 damage to his base, 1 healing to my base, and get a little more information. The other thing I'm thinking is that if my opponent swings Kanan into the Governor, it potentially sets me up to clear him with something else. So in this case, the Open Fire or Count Dooku later in the game. Let's see what my opponent does. Okay, so Kanan going for the base here. I mill my top card. A Dell, so my opponent gets to heal 2. Not that that matters. So what are we doing here? I think what we do is... I think we're going to do Governor hit Kanan, and then follow up with Open Fire to clear him, and then we can heal. In retrospect, I think it would... I don't know. I'm hoping to get a bigger result with Power of the Dark Side, but, you know, wondering if that was maybe not the best route. We'll Open Fire, clear Kanan. My opponent has played out Yoda. Ooh, and a Dispatcher. Do not love that. Base for 3. Opponent will probably shields Dispatcher. Okay, so this means that my opponent could play Jedi Luke early, which I really don't like. Don't have an immediate answer to that, though. We're going to just use Iden to heal, and opponent will have the initiative. We'll go to the next turn. Death Troopers. We're going to resource a Death Trooper. So one thing that we can do here, which is kind of a silly play, is we could do Fang Fighter take off the shield, Death Trooper get the kill as a method of dealing with that shielded dispatcher. But it's going to kind of depend on what we see from my opponent in terms of resources and other actions taken, I think. I would like to have the board smaller than this. I'm less confident going into this situation than I was going into the late game in our previous match. Um, Probably should not have attacked with the interceptor, actually, given Yoda's restore. I think it's not going to really stick on the base, and it might have been better to just have the initiative this turn. Opponent considering using the dispatcher. The best play for that would probably be Jedi Luke kill the interceptor. Let's see if he has it. Yeah, it looks like he has it. Ouch. Plus side, he used it in a situation where it doesn't affect Iden. That's favorable for me, but that's still that's a hard hit to take. That's a hard hit to take. Okay, so we're behind, and we're gonna see what we can do to get back to get out from being behind. Iden shows up. I take 2, opponent heals 2. So we're going to, yeah, we will. I think I do actually Fang Fighter clear the shield, and then we can Death Trooper to kill that guy. Luke is going to deploy. So what I want to do here is, yeah, it's kind of tough because he'll give someone a shield. I want to kill that. Yeah, we're gonna Death Trooper kill the Dispatcher. Iden heals 1, and then Iden can either attack into Jedi Luke, setting him up for Count Dooku, or actually, no, probably we just clear Yoda. It's interesting. Opponent's going for base here. Okay, so then I'm gonna have Iden clear Yoda. That heals me another point. And we're hoping to make some things happen with Power of the Dark Side. But this is a bad situation. My opponent's definitely winning right now. Arguably, I should have attacked into Jedi Luke and then Tarkin Towned him. Interesting situation. I think I misplayed this. I think I misplayed this, but that's what happens sometime. And the question now is, what are we going to do to get out of that spot? Let's see if we can salvage this unfortunate looking game. Power of the Dark Side can hit really hard here, defeating either Luke. If my opponent attacks first, which is honestly a good idea for my opponent. So the thing about this situation is, if I have Vanquish, I can kill that Luke through his shield. So if the opponent is concerned about Vanquish, he probably wants to make an attack instead of playing a card, which might allow me to get value out of that Power of the Dark Side, killing either Jedi Luke or Leader Luke in one shot, which would be really advantageous. On the other hand, he might know that, given that the Power of the Dark Side that he saw earlier. I think he did not see Vanquish because I sideboarded it in and have not played any. I just resourced one, and he has seen Power of the Dark Side, so it may be that he is going to play around the Power of the Dark Side instead of the Vanquish. Okay, nice. Okay, so he's what the uh Okay, so he heals with so Jedi Luke heals the base and damages my base heavily. Power of the Dark Side is going to land here. So that's going to be either Jedi Luke or, yeah, Jedi Luke defeated through the shield. I heal 1. Now, my hope is that he doesn't just have another Jedi Luke. If he does, I'm in so much trouble here. But it's very possible he has it. It is totally plausible that he would have another Jedi Luke here. I think if you're drawing these in this type of late game matchup, you're never going to resource them. So the question is just how many has he seen? Oh, and it's another Jedi Luke. Brutal. Sometimes the opponent has the draws they need, and there's not a huge amount to do about it. So what we're gonna do is Death Trooper will hit Jedi Luke, because that puts me in range to kill him with Count Dooku. But I don't think I'm gonna be winning this one. We'll see though. We'll see though. It's not over yet. So Luke hits my base for 4 and shields Jedi Luke. But now we are in position to use Count Dooku to kill. Yeah, we can use Count Dooku to kill. Um, Count Dooku can kill Jedi Luke here. Let's try it. Count Dooku kills Jedi Luke through the shield, gets a shield of his own. Watch him have the third Jedi Luke. How funny would that be? I would be, I would be, I'd be toast. The problem is I don't think I'm going to be able to deal with his normal Luke here. Okay. It was a home one. I thought for a moment it was the third Jedi Luke. So he plays home one. This is obviously a giant problem. Um, and I think actually that's basically just game. And then he's gonna like bring Yoda back or something. Oh, he brings the Echo-based defender back instead. That's probably better. Okay, so that's basically game. Let's see if there's anything I can do. I can heal one. Nah, that's me. GG. Okay, so that time my opponent had a better early game and got to this really crazy end game with the multiple Jedi Lukes and home one. Sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes that's how it goes. So that one was a loss, and I don't think we want to make sideboarding changes. I think we're gonna just go to round three and see what we can do. Um, I guess the other option would be we could bring in Avenger as a like super heavy endgame unit, maybe replacing the Raider, but I think yeah, do we bring in Avenger instead of Raider? So Raider is not very good against this matchup, I don't think. We're gonna try it. No, wait, I need Raider more than I need Avenger. Avenger is just like too slow. Costing 9, it's not very good. It's more for the like really, really late gamey decks, and I think we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get defeated by having Raider in my deck instead of Avenger. It's very possible. Okay, so we draw into so here's a Raider right there in hand. It's probably going to be a resource, and if it was Avenger, it would also probably be a resource. So not super compelling here. So what we're probably going to do is Regional Governor start. Um, what do I do here? Do I do Regional Governor and name Dispatcher? No, because Regional Governor can actually deal with so if he does Regional Governor. Okay, so if he does a dispatcher, the governor can hit it, and then I can kill the dispatcher with my Death Trooper. So we're gonna resource the later game cards here. Try to have a strong early game. We want to ideally have Power of the Dark Side hitting hard. So regional governor here is probably gonna say Marine. Let's say Battlefield Marine. And let's see, there's a chance that I'm a lucker and I just blank his first turn. No, he's got a restored arc. So I'm gonna just take the initiative here. Restored Arc isn't a huge problem for this deck because I do have the natural counter to it in terms of. Now, here's a question. Do I play another Regional Governor and say Wing Leader here? No, that's silly. Um, I think we actually resource this Governor. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off with just a boring attack, just play it slow, see what my opponent does. If there is a Wing Leader, it will buff the Restored Arc now, probably. Nope. Okay, so probably not a Wing Leader. Opponent gets to heal the damage. Um, Do I Power of the Dark Side just to kill this arc? I think I don't. I don't really have much of anything to do this turn though, which is kind of bad. Do I play Power of the Dark Side to kill the arc? No, we're gonna just play the Stormtrooper. This is a bad turn. I'm sort of regretting this. I think actually the regional governor plan would have been better. So I brought out a Death Star Stormtrooper, so that's just giving me a better area here. But I'm sort of relying on drawing an interceptor, which I haven't actually seen in hand. And yeah, the interceptor is a very clean counter to the arc. It's really effective, but I haven't actually seen it. I don't know if I'm going to see it. I don't think it's that reliable to do this sort of strategy, and it would have been better to just get more plays. Okay, so then we see an echo-based defender. That's actually something that I'm happy with because my stormtrooper is a very natural counter. No. Yeah, we're gonna resource one of these DTs. So then trades, that's a good trade for me. I also get to heal out of it. So the fact that my turn was bad is kind of compensated for a bit by my opponent's turn also being not the best. Use Iden to heal. Another one of those guys. Okay. Governor is gonna hit this defender. Luke shields it, but what my opponent doesn't know is that I will make an opening, killing it through the shield and healing my base for 2. So we're keeping the board kind of small. We do really want to draw that, there's the interceptor. Just as I was saying, we really want to draw that interceptor. It shows up, and we have two Power of the Dark Sides here. That's potentially very cool as well. So that is making things look up a bit for me here, but the game is by no means in the bag. Still going on, and my opponent's probably going to get to play some kind of powerful unit this turn. Let's see what he does. I don't think he could have a Battlefield Marine. He could have like two small units, but I think the odds of him having a Battlefield Marine are actually kind of low. And the reason that I say that is that because it was locked down by my governor, it wouldn't necessarily make the most sense for him to it wouldn't necessarily make the most sense for him to even keep it. I think if he had a Battlefield Marine, he would probably have resourced it. All right, so the Interceptor takes down that guy. Ooh, we see Alliance Dispatcher again. Do not love that. Iden heals here. Shield for the Dispatcher, and I think I just have to take initiative. Luckily, my opponent does too, so we're gonna draw up. Oh, those are some nice cards. Yeah, that's there's some stuff that I like. The only question is which of these cards to keep and which to resource. I'm really tempted. So I'm gonna lead off with Power of the Dark Side, killing that Dispatcher. Um, I think I resource the Open Fire. Okay, so we will Power the Dark Side, kill that Dispatcher through the shield. So no early Jedi Luke, or at least no early Jedi Luke this turn. Could still happen. I really wanted to deploy Luke and for me to just blow him up with. Okay, so we see a traitorous on. See, this now is where I wish I had kept the. This now is where I wish I had kept my Open Fire because I could kill Luke if I had it, but I don't. So we're gonna just go ahead and deploy Iden. Base for 3. I can't power the dark side here. I have this Ruthless Raider, which will kill. The Ruthless Raider can kill that next turn. What I really want is like Fang Fighter power the dark side. That would be pretty awesome. But I can't rely on that. So what we're gonna do is pass. Um, if he deploys Luke, I'm just gonna hit Luke with Iden and just go for the kind of direct interaction. But there's a risk that he has a lightsaber and will destroy me. Oh, it could be so bad. I really wish I still had that open fire. I'm really thinking that I made the wrong call with that resource choice. If I had the open fire here, I can easily kill Luke if he deploys. Okay, my opponent deploys Luke. Iden hits Luke. He can of course just trade if he wants. He can also hit my base and shield the interceptor. We'll see what he does. He could also just take the initiative and play Luke's lightsaber at the start of the next turn. It would be horrible for me. So he takes the trade. That does get me a point of healing. I'm going to take initiative. He does have a shield now on that interceptor, which is going to be annoying, but I actually do have ample ways to kill it. The question is just, so the thing is, I don't actually know if I want to kill the interceptor. So I could play the Raider this turn and just knock the shield off the interceptor. I don't know if I want to kill it because if I draw a Fang Fighter, I get to take it back for free. Um, or not for free, but I get to take it back while also deploy another unit. So what we're going to do is Raider ping the shield off the interceptor and then 2 damage to base. And then this means that I'm now in a position where the Raider can potentially deal with the interceptor later on. And, we'll see what happens here. Still have a resource left, but it doesn't do anything except for deploy a Stormtrooper, which I don't have. Nice. Low impact Jedi Luke. Okay. So debuffing this Raider with -3 minus. Oh, okay. So actually, no, it's not that bad. So he can give this -3, and then it creates a situation where he'll be able to kill it with the interceptor, and the interceptor. Oh no, he doesn't. Okay. Okay, so just low impact Jedi Luke. Weird play, but okay. I'll take it. Um, I was thinking he was setting up a powerful trade, but he ended up not actually taking that powerful trade. Okay, so what we'll do here is So we need to kill Jedi Luke. So that's going to be probably Vanquish here. Um, yeah, just immediate Vanquish. We do want a resource. We probably end up resourcing Inferno 4. That gives me resources to also play Power of the Dark Side. So we need to kill Jedi Luke immediately, vanquish him. That's just not an ability we can afford to leave on the field. If he has another Jedi Luke, he can kill my... Yep, he does. He kills my Raider, but I deal 2 damage to kill his Interceptor and 2 damage to the base. And then we're going to Power of the Dark Side, kill that Jedi Luke. So he had the double Jedi Luke again, but this time we had a strong counter to it, Iden healing, and we have the Emperor here. So I'm feeling overall pretty good about this situation. He says, well played. The game's not over yet, but that, oh, and I draw another Emperor Palpatine. That is something I love to see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I do not resource here. Yeah, we're just gonna ready up. All right, so let's see what he does. What I'd really love is like Obi-Wan, and then I play Palpatine and just kill him. Ooh, no, it's gonna be home 1. Okay, so that's actually, it's also gonna go well for me. So what we're going to do here is, we can use, well, let's see. Yeah, so we do Palpatine, um, Palpatine, and we're going to deal 2 damage there and 4 damage there, and then we get to Tarkin Town and kill home 1. Home 1 down, and then Iden heals 1. And now I have a board advantage there. Nice, and we draw Count Dooku and an Inferno 4. We have another Palpatine, we have a Vanquish. I'm thinking that my late game is going to be better than his, but we'll have to see. It's possible that it won't, but with those Vanquishes enabled now, he could have another home 1 and I can just kill it. Um, he could have another Jedi Luke, again, I can just kill it. Iden's healing is preventing his early aggro from having as much of an impact on the base as it might otherwise. We still have Count Dooku could show up to kill the defender. Second Emperor Palpatine. Yeah, we have some very powerful late game options here. Opponent on 9 resources. We could see the mighty Redemption Medical Frigate. Okay, Strike True, dealing 4 damage to Palpatine. That's a pretty reasonable play. The problem with this for my opponent, though, is that I'm going to be able to use Dooku to kill the defender and get a shield. He could play Obi-Wan, but I can just trade Palpatine for Obi-Wan and he doesn't get his ability. And then that readies my extra Palpatine for later. He could, of course, play a takedown to kill either Dooku or Palpatine. Probably more valuable to kill Dooku here since he's shielded, if my opponent does indeed have that. But we'll have to see exactly what happens. Ooh, okay. Energy Conversion Lab, 6. Obi-Wan. Oh, okay. That's a cool play. Obi-Wan knocking off Count Dooku's shield and taking 5 damage but staying alive. My opponent doesn't have a resource for... Okay, so what we do here is we have Palpatine attack Obi-Wan. Palpatine actually has overwhelms that isn't that does still damage the base heavily. Opponent takes the initiative, and we're going to use Iden to heal 1, and then we're going to play Inferno 4. Look at the top 2. And we're going to be sending early game cards to the bottom of the deck. Fang Fighter here. Good against Traitorous or against Lightsabers. I think we keep the Fang Fighter and send the takedown to the bottom. Okay. So now we have a Fang Fighter and we draw a Death Trooper. 9 resources. I don't think it's that worth it to go to 10 resources. Okay. So both players on huge numbers of resources here. I have 9. My opponent did go to 10. I'd just rather have more cards at this point, I think. Traitorous. Oh, baby. We kept that Fang Fighter for a reason. What you got? The blowout. This is one of the biggest blowouts in the game. So Traitors is a 5 cost upgrade that takes control of an opposing unit that costs 3 or less. The problem with it is Fang Fighter costs 3, defeats the upgrade, and then you get your unit back. So it's like a gigantic, crazy reversal. He plays a Restored Arc. I don't care about that. I'm just going to hit the base for 5 with Count Dooku. Let's see what else he might play. Shield on the Arc. Okay. Do I vanquish this Arc? That seems pretty unworthy. We could play a Death Trooper. Yeah, so what we're gonna do is play a Death Trooper, just to be more aggro. He has to use his ability, so he damages himself for 2, and he doesn't hit the opponent. My opponent was maybe gonna remove the shield, and I was gonna say no, don't do that, but doesn't isn't necessary. Iden didn't actually kill a unit. I didn't actually defeat an enemy unit this turn, so Iden doesn't get to heal. Opponent takes the initiative. We're just gonna draw up. Forced Choke is really bad. Actually, Forced Choke is arguably useful as a cantrip played on my own unit. Um, I think actually, do I resource? At this point, we're really just going to try to close the game with damage to base. So I think I'm not so worried about. I think we resource the Force Choke. We don't really want the Force Choke in card at this point in the game. Force Choke is a lot better early on, and the card draw it gives the opponent might be more of an advantage to the opponent than to myself. So that's a awkward scenario. Vanquish for Count Dooku. Okay. So then Fang Fighter goes into the base for 3 before it can get taken out by that arc. Ooh, okay. The Force is with me, 2 experience to the restored arc, and it's gonna hit the base, I guess? Or maybe, no, it kills Inferno 4. Okay. So then I get to look at my top 2 cards. We're going to, okay, so takedown. Takedown would actually be, okay, so we're gonna keep Dooku for sure. I don't really want even more removal. Um, yeah, I think that goes to the bottom. Okay, so then Inferno 4 is defeated. Opponent basically doesn't have resources, so we're going to play Viper Probe Droid. Let's take a look at the hand. Yoda and Luke's lightsaber. Okay, not a big deal for me to deal with at all. Opponent takes the initiative, so what we're going to do is Death Trooper for 3 to the base. Then we're going to play Palpatine, kill the Arc, and then we'll activate Iden's ability and heal. And then that's going to do it. Okay, so at this point, I think I have basically won the game. It's not actually over yet, but it'll be surprising if my opponent can come back. Okay, so we have yeah, so we have Obi-Wan. We're just gonna vanquish him, and that means his ability doesn't go off, and Palpatine can attack the base for lethal. My opponent can play the Yoda. There's a takedown, but it can't kill Palpatine because he's 6 HP, so Palpatine gets to close the game. He kills the Viper probe and then Palpatine for 6, and that's game. GG. Okay, we did it. We went 2-1. Good games there between Iden Red and Luke Green. Ultimately was able to get some big value with Power of the Dark Side, with Palpatine, Dooku, the big late game stuff. We were ultimately able to prevail. I thought I thought the turn where I was able to kill 2 Jedi Lukes in one turn was especially hype. Power of the Dark Side is a really strong card and really a linchpin to this build. Okay, so that's going to do it for this one, guys. I will have a link to my Iden Red deck list in the video description below if you guys want to check it out. And yeah, I will catch you guys later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. See ya.